All right, guys, today's going to be a good day. We have a highly requested tutorial video. Today we're going to teach you how going from this will help you get over to this. Let's do it. All right, guys, so the first thing we need to do is grab an image online of the shoe we are going to be doing the photoshopping on. So when you head to the internet, you're going to type in the name of the shoe you want, followed by the word template. And there is most likely going to be a vector drawing of almost any shoe you can think of here. You can see as I scroll down here on Google Images, there's just tons of shoes that people have created these cool vector drawings based off of. So we're going to use this Jordan 1 today. I'm going to right click, copy image, and we're going to go ahead, head over to Photoshop. You're going to click New File. And Photoshop's a really smart program, so it can automatically detect the size of the image you grabbed from online, 804 times 466 pixels. And we're going to create this, and I'm going to paste it, and that is Command V. So I'm using a Mac for this tutorial. If you're using a Windows computer, you're just going to use the Control button anytime I say the word Command. Other than that, I believe all the keyboard shortcuts will be the same, just swapping out that Control and Command thing. So there are tons of different ways to do any amount of crazy things you want to do in Photoshop. As the old saying goes, there's a million ways to skin a cat. So if somebody's used Photoshop before, they may say it's better to do something this way or that way, and that's okay. You develop your own workflow over time, but I'm just going to teach you a super basic way to kind of navigate through this very complex program today. So over here on our left, we have our basic tools panel, and then over here on our right, we have our layers panel. So the first thing that we want to do is get our entire upper isolated on its own layer over here. So I like to have this navigator window open. If you guys would like to use it, it's over here in Window Navigator. I like using it because it helps me zoom in and then kind of move around my project like this. Not everybody likes using it, but that's okay. So the first thing we're going to do is head over here to grab our magic wand tool. It's probably starting off as the quick selection tool for you guys, and you'll see all these little page flip or arrows in the bottom right corner of each of these tools. That means that there's multiple tools if you hold click there. So on the quick selection tool, I'm going to hold click and go to magic wand. I'm going to set my tolerance somewhere up to around 100, and you guys will just have to play with tolerance. Basically what that is how much tolerance do you want to allow this tool to select what Photoshop detects as similar objects. So if I just click in the toe box, it's going to select all around this black line because Photoshop detects that, this black line work drawing has an actual border here. So when I click there, you'll see the marching ants appear and they go around just the toe box. So I'm going to go ahead and hold shift and start selecting some of these other layers also. We're going to include the swoosh, and then we're also going to include the tongue tag. So after that, I'm going to head over here to my layers panel. I'm going to click down here on this little page lift icon. It's going to be your create a new layer tool. You'll see layer 2 popped up. And then what we're going to do is go over here to where you'll see this gradient box. You hold click there. We're going to go to our paint bucket tool. We're just going to select a color, this red up here. Any color's fine. And we're just going to click anywhere here, and now you'll see you press Command D to get out of the selection. Now you'll see we have all of our upper on a single layer, which is great. And then you'll see these kind of little white spots here on the swoosh here, and those are just I didn't have a high enough tolerance, but that's okay just for the sake of showing you guys this stuff. So the one thing that I still need to do is get rid of this wings logo. The way I'm going to do that is grab this polygonal lasso tool right here. You're just going to start clicking around it, and then I'm going to paint that solid red on its own layer. So I created a new layer, paint bucket tool, red right on top of it, Command D to get out of that selection. And now what I want to do is just merge this down. You right click. Let me show you guys first. Here's what it is isolated as its own, okay? So I want to get it to merge down to my lower layer that has the rest of the upper on a solid red color. So right click, merge layers, and there we go. Now we have that wings logo covered because in the end we're going to paint it anyway. So the next thing we're going to do is head back to Google, and we need to grab the Kanye West graduation album artwork. So we want to make sure that we grab a high enough resolution image. You'll see the image resolutions down here. This says 220 by 220. This one's a bit bigger, 1024 by 1024. I'm going to copy this image, bring it over to Photoshop, and we're just going to Command V it to paste it. So as you can see, it's obviously bigger than the rest of our image because it was a high resolution. So I'm going to press Command T. That's going to bring up our free transform tool. I'm going to hold Shift near the corners, and we're just going to scale this down. The next thing that I would like to do is isolate the bear along with the college he's shooting away from. So what we're going to do is grab our magic wand tool again, and we're going to select the background of the shoe. So all the clouds, the coral to magenta to purple sky. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to set our tolerance a little bit lower to something like 50. And then we're just going to start selecting some of the background. Now this doesn't have to be exactly perfect, because we're just trying to visualize the size of it and how it's going to look on the shoe, okay? So since we have the background selected, basically what I want to do is select the inverse of that. So if you right click on there, select inverse, what we are then going to do is right click again and do a layer via copy. And here you can see there's still a few more things we want to get rid of. This text, the white border, and the parental advisory logo. So what I'm going to do again is my polygonal lasso tool. I'm just going to select the bear along with the college and the little graduation caps. And since we have all this selected, I'm going to right click, select inverse, and delete the rest of that. Perfect. The next thing we want to do is move this over to the back end of the shoe. So we're going to do our free transform tool, Command T, and just start sliding that over, and we're going to scale that up a little bit. Now the next thing you'll want to do is clean up this little midsole part here. Since you wouldn't actually paint that onto the midsole, we're going to go to our magic wand tool. I'm going to head back to this original layer of the shoe. We're going to select the midsole, and then we're going to delete that from this top layer. So you need to make sure what layer you're clicking on. After that, I'm going to turn my upper layer back on, and the next thing we need to do is start getting this coral to magenta to purple gradient to stretch across the entire shoe. So let's go ahead, scale this down, and start to move it out of our way, but we're still going to keep it on our image just for reference. We're going to head over to the paint bucket tool again, hold click on there, select our gradient, and you can see I've actually already done this earlier, and so it probably looks something like this for you guys. So we're just going to go ahead and select this 4-color gradient. There's a ton of different options, and we're going to start clicking across the 4 colors of this. So this light coral, we're going to select a little pinkish magenta next. Now we're going to start moving into some of our purples. And then obviously last is going to be the dark purple in the upper right corner. Perfect. So I want a new layer. And then the way the gradient tool works is you select 2 endpoints. So I'm going to select the left side of my image, hold Shift, drag that over to the right side of my image, and now you can see we have our gradient stretched across the entire thing. So I'm going to turn down the opacity a little so you can start to see. We only need it to go to the ends of the shoe. So we're going to Command T this layer. Whoops, my gradient layer. We're going to Command T it, pull it to the front and back of the shoe. And then what we want to do is delete everything that's not this red upper. So we're going to select the outside of it, and then click delete on our gradient layer. Let's turn this opacity back up, and there you can start to see it. Our next step is going to be bringing back some of the vector line work so you can start to see the panels from the original shoe. So let's go turn a few things off so we can get to here. What I want is all this black line work. So we're going to go to Select, Color Range. We're going to select the color black. Here's a really easy area to click. If you play with this fuzziness slider, you'll see what happens here on the thumbnail. Different amounts of the black will show up. So we want a fair amount, so something like 170-ish looks good. I'm going to right click and do a layer via copy, and we're going to pull this to the top, and you'll see what happens once we start to turn on our layers. So now you can see that we have all of our panels back. So I want to go ahead and just delete this wings logo again. So I'm going to polygonal lasso tool around that, and then we're just going to delete that from this line work layer. Awesome. So the next thing we need to do is go ahead and throw some of these clouds across this gradient. What we're going to do is head back to Google, and you're just going to type in clouds followed by vector. Okay, so anytime you're looking for a simple shape or something like that, if you just type in what it is you're looking for, followed by the word vector, you'll get some perfectly usable images. So I'm going to go ahead and grab these. We're going to copy this, and we're going to paste it into our document. It's a little bit bigger, so again, Command T, and we're just going to scale that down. Now the next thing I want to do is delete the background of this. So our Magic Wand tool, select the white, delete that, and then we want to also delete this text here at the bottom. So we're just going to use our lasso tool around there and delete that. Clouds are still a little big in my opinion, so we're going to scale those down. Perfect. And now I'm going to duplicate this layer, and we are going to do this a total of 2 more times and have these, whoops, not on the right layer, and we are going to stretch these across the whole shoe. Whoops, wrong layer again. Alright, perfect. So now what we want to do is start deleting some of the clouds that are on the outside of the shoe. So if we select the outside of our gradient layer, and then we just click delete on each of the cloud layers, you'll see now only the clouds are across the shoe. So we're going to head down here to this effects panel, and what this is going to do is it's going to pull up a bunch of options. You're going to go to color overlay, and then we're going to select the color of gradient that it's nearest by, and then just change the hue just a little bit. I usually go with a little bit lighter color, and we're going to do this across all 3 of our layers. So we're going to click one of these purples, lighter hue just by a tad, and same thing on this final layer, lighter hue. Perfect. Now we have these color clouds stretched across the entire upper of the shoe, and in just a shade over 10 minutes we were able to create something super cool like this, guys. As I've said over and over, this is great to help you visualize your designs better or to share with clients. At the end of the day, as a customizer, it's your job to bring your client's vision to life. However, sometimes they're going to want to see something like this before they go ahead and commit the project to you. So we would love to see what you guys create based off of these tutorials, so go ahead and send that to us or tag us in it. We would really love to see all of these tutorials and practice tips being applied. Alright guys, so I hope you were able to pick up on a few little tips today from today's Photoshop tutorial. If you have any potential clients, this is something that they'll definitely want to see from you, and it will not only help them, but it'll really help you visualize where you want to take your project. So hope you guys really learned from today's video. If there's any other tutorials you would like to see from us in the future, go ahead and let us know in the comments below. Make sure you guys smash that like button, and we'll see you guys in the next one.